Wee sleekit, cour and timorous beastie, oh, what a panic's in thy breastie, thou needn't start away.
So FaceLab is a research group that carries out research specifically in relation to faces, skulls and identity and identification. So this is a project we've been doing for years now. 2010 we produced a facial depiction when I was working in Dundee of Robert Burns, the famous Scots poet, and we've had an idea since then to try and do an animation so that we could hear him and see him speaking one of his own poems. The technology has advanced recently to allow us to be able to do that. So what we've been able to do is to take 4D capture of a Scots poet that we worked with called Rab Wilson, and to map his voice and facial expression and movement onto the facial depiction of Robert Burns so that we can animate that and you can see him talking one of his shortest poems, or the shortest poem we could find, which is To a Mouse. So the first step in this process is looking at the skull, and there's a cast, or there are a number of casts of Robert Burns skulls that exist in different museums across Scotland. So we're able to take that cast along with information we have from silhouettes and portraits of Burns to create a facial depiction of him, which follows a scientific anatomical process, and we do that in a 3D digital environment. The next step is then to find a voice and facial expression that would be appropriate to Burns so that we can transfer that onto his head. So we found a Scots poet, we recorded him speaking one of the poems and his voice, and then mapped those using animation and working with a company called DI4D in Glasgow to enable us to be able to create that motion capture and animation. Developing this might enable us in the future to be able to do similar things for other historical figures. So depictions that we've produced, for example, of Richard III, of Ramesses II, of St Nicholas, where we have examples of their words or their letters or their speeches or their poems, then we can use this technology to be able to see them talking and speaking. We can also use it within a museum and archaeology setting, so seeing faces from the past moving and talking and breathing. And we might be able to use that in relation to bigger avatars and animation within a 3D virtual environment.
Backwards cast my eye on prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear.